I never thought my wedding anniversary would become the most degrading night of my life. We sat at a long table in the center of a bustling Manhattan restaurant. Around us, glasses clinked, laughter drifted, and conversations blended into a low hum. To an outsider, it might have looked like a joyful gathering, but I could already sense the storm brewing. Marina, my wife, sat beside me in her emerald dress, her diamond pendant glinting under the chandelier. Across the table were her closest college friends, each flanked by their well-dressed husbands, the type of men who casually toss Tesla keys on the table, as if reminding me of the divide between their lives and mine. Marina leaned back, absently twisting her wine glass as her friends chatted about Paris getaways and the latest luxury cars. I stayed quiet, focusing on my plate, until Marina's voice cut through the room. Loud enough for everyone to hear, she sneered, "While your husbands are out sealing deals and driving Teslas, mine's busy scrubbing toilets in Manhattan." A strained laugh went around the table. My chest tightened, heat rising in my face. I told myself she was joking, but I knew she wasn't. She relished the sting. Then she stood, glass raised, her eyes glittering with cold satisfaction. "To new beginnings," she declared. "I want a divorce." The room froze. Forks halted midair. Conversations died. And then, with cruel clarity, she added, "I'm done living with a janitor. I deserve a man who can give me the life I want. Someone rich. Someone worthy." My throat closed. I searched her face for even a flicker of doubt, but found only smug resolve. Her friends exchanged whispers and glances while I shoved back my chair. The legs screeched against the polished floor. I couldn't speak, the words lodged under the crushing weight of shame. So I walked out. The heavy doors closed behind me, and the cold night hit my face. I had never felt so small. My name is Darius Cole. For years, I've worked as a janitor in New York City. Every morning, I lace up my boots and step into glass towers where I polish marble floors and mop footprints left by men in tailored suits who barely see me. To most, I'm invisible. But to me, my work is proof of dignity, earned without lies, theft, or dependence. It's not glamorous, but I take pride in it. My rough hands and aching back are reminders of effort that keeps me standing tall. But Marina never saw it that way. From the start, she was seduced by Fifth Avenue's storefronts, penthouses above the skyline, and cars that glided silently down the streets. Where I saw worth in honesty and family, she measured value in wealth and status. I tried to close that gap, working extra shifts so she could shop, skipping meals to save for vacations, telling myself that love meant compromise. But the harder I tried, the farther she drifted. In her eyes, I wasn't a partner, but a burden. The sting was sharper because of where I came from. My father, Henrik, was a powerful businessman who expected me to inherit his empire. When I chose my own path, he told me I was throwing away a future most men would kill for. We haven't spoken since. My mother, Elena, was his opposite, gentle, wise, and unshakably supportive. "Money can vanish," she always said, "but character endures." Her words carried me through every moment Marina mocked my work. My younger sister, Talia, admired me for refusing to bow to pressure. She called often, bragging about me to her friends. She never knew how much that steadied me. And my grandfather, Merrick, hardened by war and survival, taught me hardship shapes a man, but how you carry it defines you. Those voices built my backbone, the same backbone Marina never recognized. By the time she raised her glass that night, her cruelty wasn't new. It was the climax of years of small cuts, her sighs at rent checks, her disdain at my uniform, comparisons to her friends' wealthy husbands. Still, I had walked into that dinner clinging to hope. It was our anniversary, and I wanted to believe she might look past the uniform and see the man who loved her. I ironed my shirt 3 times, hoping I'd fit in among the suits and Rolexes. But as she basked in her friend's admiration, every look, every joke told me the same thing. You are not enough. When Leona boasted about her husband's Tesla, Marina smirked and quipped, "My husband doesn't need a Tesla. He gets his cardio pushing a mop bucket." The table chuckled. My stomach twisted. I tried to change the subject, mentioning how a tenant had thanked me for carrying her groceries. I meant it as a reminder that small kindnesses matter. Marina rolled her eyes. And in that moment, I understood nothing I could do would ever be enough for her. Groceries? Darius, please. These men are negotiating contracts and managing portfolios. You're bragging about carrying a grocery bag. Marina's words landed like a slap. Her friend smiled politely, but whatever dignity I tried to reclaim evaporated. When plates were cleared, I braced for a simple anniversary toast. Instead, Marina turned the evening into my public humiliation. She raised her glass, louder than the clink of silverware, and announced, "To new beginnings, I want a divorce." The room stilled. Servers paused. My heart thundered. Her voice stayed steady and cold as she declared she was tired of living with a janitor and wanted a man who could give her the life she wanted. Someone rich, someone worthy. Faces at the table shifted away. Husbands stared anywhere but at me. My chair felt too small, my body too heavy. Shame flamed through me. I thought of Talia's admiration, my mother Elena's lessons about dignity, and my grandfather Merrick's belief that hardship reveals character. Their words steadied me inside, but could not erase the raw sting of being shamed in public. I pushed back my chair. It screamed against the polished floor. My decision was sudden and certain. Staying would mean surrendering the last of my dignity. I rose in silence. Marina smirked and lifted her glass as if my silence confirmed her verdict. Her friends whispered. I walked to the door. A maitre d' attempted a courteous farewell, but I wouldn't meet his eyes. Outside, New York's cold hit me hard. Through the glass, muffled laughter resumed. Taxis honked, couples passed arm in arm. Life continuing like mine had been a brief interruption. I stood under the streetlights, breath fogging in the air, feeling smaller than ever. I shoved my hands in my pockets and started walking without a destination. Neon reflections shimmered in puddles like broken glass as Marina's words replayed in my head. I deserve a man who can give me the life I want. Each repeat drove the pain deeper. Half a block away, I slumped against a lamppost, head bowed, wanting to vanish. Then a car pulled up beside me. A sleek black vehicle stopped. A man in a dark suit leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Mr. Cole," he asked. My first thought was Marina had sent someone else. Hesitant, I answered. He said flatly, "Your father sent me." The name hit me harder than anything that night. Henrik Cole, a name I hadn't spoken in years. The man produced a thick envelope sealed with red wax bearing my father's lion emblem, the same seal I hadn't seen since I walked away. My heart sharpened. Curiosity won out over pride. I accepted the envelope, my hands trembling. "What is this?" I asked, voice unsteady. The man in the car stared straight at me. "It's your father's message," he said. Then, almost exactly, "Tell my son it is time." The window rose, the car eased away, and I was left alone on the wet pavement with a sealed envelope in my hands. The city noises dimmed as memories of my father flooded back, his lessons about ledgers, the arguments after I refused his path, the last look of disappointment before I walked away. I hadn't heard from him in years. No birthdays, no holidays, not even when my mother begged for a reconciliation. I had believed he'd cast me out for good. Now a stranger insisted my father had been waiting for the right moment. My thumb hesitated on the wax seal. I feared what might be inside, another rebuke or something heavier I couldn't face. Curiosity won. I broke the seal and unfolded a letter. The first line hit like a blow and a bomb at once. "Darius, my son, if you are reading this, the day I've been waiting for has arrived." He acknowledged the humiliation I'd endured but praised my dignity and said it was time for me to claim the role he'd always thought I could fill. Tucked beneath the letter were old, heavy brass keys with number tags. I turned them over in my palm, feeling the cool metal and my reflection in their shine. My father's words, "It is time," echoed as I stood, torn between anger at years of silence and a sudden, cautious hope. Minutes earlier, Marina's betrayal had shattered me. Now another door was opening. I sat on a nearby bench and read on. My father's handwriting was precise and unsparing. He explained that he had not abandoned me, but watched from afar to see if I could survive without him, to test whether I would build strength on my own. Only a man tempered by struggle, he wrote, could be trusted with legacy. The keys, he said, unlocked properties, accounts, and businesses now placed in my charge. They would demand everything, but they also offered a way to rise above the humiliation and become the man he believed I could be. I set the letter on my lap and stared at the keys while memories rushed back. Nights spent scrubbing floors, hands trembling from exhaustion, the sting of Marina's comparisons. My father had seen it all. Rather than rescue me then, he let me carry the burden to prove myself. And at my lowest hour, he had given me both the burden and the blessing of his legacy. I gripped the keys so tightly the metal cut into my palm. A storm of emotions surged: anger at my father's silence, gratitude for his faith in me, and a fierce sense of vindication. For years, Marina treated me as though my worth depended on luxury cars or bank accounts. Now fate had placed in my hands undeniable proof that I was more than she ever imagined. But it wasn't the wealth that struck me, it was the truth that my father hadn't abandoned me. He had waited for this moment, and in his eyes I had passed the test. I rose from the bench, keys clenched, the city no longer cold but alive with possibility. A taxi slowed, as if it knew I needed direction. I climbed in, gave the driver the address etched on one of the key tags, and soon arrived at a quiet Upper East Side street lined with brownstones. The key slid into a wrought iron gate with ease. Beyond it stood a townhouse, grand, yet understated. Its windows glowed warmly, welcoming me. Inside, polished wooden floors, shelves of books on business and history, and paintings that spoke of wealth and deliberate taste greeted me. It was both alien and familiar, like stepping into the life I had once rejected. On the dining table rested another envelope with my name. I opened it to find a shorter note in my father's sharp hand. "Darius, this is only the beginning. What you do next will define you. Do not let betrayal chain you to bitterness. Rise above it. Prove that integrity can rule as powerfully as ambition. I am watching, even if from afar. Henrik." The weight of it all pressed down: Marina's betrayal, years of toil, my father's silence, and now this inheritance. Yet beneath the burden was a strength I had never felt. I thought of Marina raising her glass, certain she had destroyed me. She hadn't ended me, she had sparked my beginning. By midnight, I stood at the townhouse window, looking out over the city. For the first time, I felt taller than the skyscrapers. The janitor mocked and discarded was gone. In his place stood a man with legacy, power, and resilience. And though my father's voice came only through ink, I heard it as if he were beside me. It is time. The morning after felt different. I woke in a townhouse, sunlight warming the polished floors. For years, I had lived in cramped apartments. Now I stood in a place that symbolized possibility. I brewed coffee with steady hands, the bitterness of humiliation still there, but transformed into fuel. Marina had tried to crush me, but she had ignited my fire. By noon, my phone buzzed. Her name glowed on the screen. I answered. "Darius," she said, her voice soft. "I was upset last night. I didn't mean to humiliate you." I stayed silent. She rushed on. "I heard something this morning. About Henrik. I didn't know you were heir to anything." Her tone was cautious, but her intent was clear. "Marina," I said firmly, "you did mean it. You wanted me to feel small, to cut me down in front of everyone. You measured me against your friends' husbands, and I came up short. But you were wrong. I was never small. I just chose a harder path." She tried to interrupt, but I pressed on. "You wanted wealth. Now you see it in front of you. But you lost me the moment you traded loyalty for greed." Her voice turned pleading. "We can start over. We can be better. Please, Darius, forgive me. Think of everything we've shared." I shook my head. "No. You wanted a man to buy your happiness. Go find him. I hope he brings you all the Teslas in the world. Because what I have now is more than wealth. I have dignity. And that's something you never valued." I ended the call. The silence of the townhouse wrapped around me. It wasn't triumph I felt, it was clarity. Marina had revealed who she truly was. My father had reminded me who I truly was. Over the following weeks, I stepped into the legacy. I toured properties with my name on the deeds. I met my father's old business partners. At first, they doubted me, a janitor standing where Henrik once did. But as I spoke with conviction and carried myself with the strength of my struggles, I saw their respect grow. Every meeting, I remembered the floors I once scrubbed, the cart I once pushed. I carry those memories proudly. They shaped me into the man who could shoulder responsibility without surrendering integrity. Each night, I reread my father's letter. His words reminded me this was not a gift, but a trust, a challenge to prove that character outlasts titles. Months later, I passed the restaurant where Marina ended our marriage. Through the window, I saw couples laughing, raising glasses. The pain of that night still lived in me, but it no longer owned me. It had become part of the story that shaped me. I smiled and walked away, not as the man humiliated, but as the man who rose. The lesson is simple. You are not defined by insults or by others' expectations. You are defined by how you rise when life knocks you down. Dignity, resilience, and loyalty are worth more than cars, suits, or status. I lost a wife who never valued me, but I gained clarity, strength, and a legacy built on endurance. And if this story speaks to you, remember, your worth is not in what others say. It's in the integrity you refuse to surrender.